If you want to just have great ROAS and CAC numbers, run a sale. Like, you will have that sugar spike like nothing else. But if you want to build long-term brand equity, people really coming back to you over and over again, then you need to focus on something that's bigger. When someone buys a product, a service, we're all envisioning a better version of ourselves. Think about what it means to have a Birkin on your arm. Is there a great quality there? Of course, but you are sending a signal to everyone else, one, that you can afford it, but two, that you understand this world and you're part of it. I think everyone's job is in jeopardy. I think everyone's role is evolving so quickly that you have to do everything you can to stay up to date, to stay flexible, and to continue to add value. So if you're in a purely executional role, you need to think about how you can get out of that.
Lewis, incredibly excited for today's episode. I feel like ever since I met you at Kart Stars for the first time in Vegas, where we had some pretty good fun, I had to have you on, and I'm incredibly excited for today's episode. I mean, your journey through the world of e-com, brand, and everything in between is pretty wild. And I think so many people look up to your observations on things, your opinions, and I think a lot of it is super valid and you know, incredibly interesting, and I'm excited to dive into that today. But for those who don't know you, let's start with your story, your journey. Who are you? And yeah.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me on. Big fan of what you've been building with the brand and the community. So I like to always center this question around a very pivotal moment when I was actually in college. So when I was in undergrad, I went to Harvard and concentrated or majored in the highly marketable degree of folklore and mythology.
Okay.
And it was all about the power of narrative and storytelling. When you think about branding and marketing, what is it if not fundamentally narrative and storytelling? So what seemed like a bit of a obtuse area of study actually laid an incredible foundation for my career that would follow. From there, worked at Leo Burnett, which is a big agency in Chicago doing brand strategy for huge companies like Motorola, Morgan Stanley, et cetera. And then moved to New York and was working in corporate fashion for about 10 years at Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, John Varvatos, helping those companies launch new price points and divisions before pivoting into the D2C e-commerce space.
Nice. Why go into this world in the first place? I mean, it's a pretty interesting world, but there's so much you can do in your life, right?
Absolutely.
Why choose to do this?
One, I really enjoy the fast-paced mentality of the D2C world. I love that there's always a new technology or platform or strategy to not only keep up with, but to be able to test and implement. And I just really love the hustle and bustle of the overall ecosystem. It's a really fun place to play.
And you've been doing some talks recently, right? Like you did a keynote talk in, what was it, Austin the other day. Talk to us a bit more about that.
So I've been doing more keynote speaking, which I'm very excited about. And the first one was actually 10 years ago at the Subscription Summit.
Okay.
And gave a keynote there, which was a lot of fun. And then was on a lot of panels, but most recently in January, I spoke to 700 wine marketing professionals at the Direct-to-Consumer Wine Symposium, which was in California. And
so niche.
It was so niche, but it was so great. Everything from small family vineyards all the way up to the gallows of the world, talking about how brands can build belief in the age of AI, which is really my core thesis. And then I was invited to give a talk in Austin at the e-commerce agency summit, and that was to 300 owners of e-commerce agencies. And I was the only brand person there, which was actually a lot of fun. And it was fun. It was great to see the reactions of everyone at both conferences.
What were you mostly talking about? What do you think resonated most?
The core thesis of my talk is that, and this is a framework I've put into place whenever I come in as the chief marketing officer of an organization, is that many brands play at the level of talking about their features and their benefits. So the example I like to give is think about the world of bedding and sheets. Everyone talks about the type of cotton and the thread count. Do any of us really know the ideal thread count? Probably not.
No.
But if you think about even at retail, you have a small package for some top sheets, and more often than not, the biggest font is how much the thread count is, right? So they're taking up all this visual real estate, all their marketing messaging around this feature.
That nobody knows what really means.
That nobody really knows. The brands that do it a bit better talk about the benefits. So why should I care about the thread count and the type of cotton? Because it's going to have softer sheets. Okay, great. But everyone can make the same claim, and especially when you get into a competitive marketplace like Amazon, that becomes a race to the bottom in terms of price point if those are the only value propositions that you're bringing to the table. The brands that really do it well are the ones that are focused on creating an emotional connection with their audience.
Right.
So if you find out that your audience tends to skew towards working mothers, well, you have a really compelling message that we understand all the stresses you're under. You deserve the very best when you go to sleep. So if you can tap into that emotional resonance, then your audience is going to pay more when it comes time to make a decision.
What do you think were the biggest misunderstandings that agencies are having amongst brands today? You've obviously worked on both the agency side and the brand side, which is a unique perspective because I think that a lot of people work on one or the other, right? Mm-hmm. So you're able to share a point of view that kind of resonates with both. But what do you think that agencies are getting wrong or misunderstanding when it comes to working with brands today, especially in the world of AI, right?
Absolutely. The example I give is, as someone on the marketing side at a brand, you are inundated with outreach. Everyone is claiming to lower your CAC, increase your LTV, give you better CRO, whatever the acronym is, there's someone to solve it for you. And most of those messages go unanswered because they don't really speak to the challenges that I'm facing. Of course, those metrics are important, but that's just table stakes for any partner I'm working with. When was the last time that a brand said, hey, I bet that you're probably feeling a lot of pressure from the board to justify your headcount. They're speaking to a CMO or a VP. Or I bet that you guys are really under pressure to demonstrate that you are adopting AI technologies at a quick rate. Let us help you with that. And the other thing that I was saying in my keynote is, if you're working with a brand, find out when the board meetings are. And then maybe a week after that board meeting, do a check-in and say, hey, have your priorities shifted? How can we support you? What do you think the roadmap is now? Because things pivot pretty quickly.
Do you think that there is huge pressure on brands now to be adopting AI technologies
100%.
in their business?
Absolutely.
How do you think that that'll change the need for an agency? Where do you see agencies playing in the world of e-commerce or brand or marketing in the next, let's say, 2 years?
It's a great question. What I like to say is that AI is the hammer, but you still need a hand to navigate the hammer. So a lot of agencies, if they are functioning as a utility, are in trouble because that will be automated and subsumed. The agencies that are really going to add value are the ones that have that layer of judgment, expertise, and guidance that they can bring. Everybody says they want to be a partner to the brand, and of course that requires the brand being willing to hold hands. But if you can bring that level of strategy and execution together, you're going to succeed.
Where do you think the pressure points are for bringing AI into a business today? Where is it marketing, the marketing stack? Is it analysis? Is it reducing headcount? Is it marketing? Is it email? Is it retention? Is it creative? Like, where are you kind of seeing amongst your circle of friends that are, running brands as well? Where are you seeing the biggest pressure today?
All of the above,
right,
is the cheeky answer, but true. And it's not just limited to the marketing vertical. Finance, operations, logistics, customer support are all being presented with potential solutions for areas of their business. So I think right now, boards and C-suite are really evaluating where they need to invest in the technology and where they need to invest in the people. So is there an opportunity to up-level some existing employees, maybe so they can be the hand that's operating the hammer. Or in some cases, it's sad but true, but there probably will be, if not already, reductions in headcount around that.
Where are you focusing now? So, pressure from the board, et cetera, to be adopting AI technology in the business. How do you determine a tool that is just a bad tool? Are you concerned about, or do you think most about headcount reduction? Do you think most about upskilling employees? Do you think most about, the tool needs to increase the revenue, save time? Like, what are you kind of looking for most out of the tools you bring on now?
Right now, I feel a bit like a kid in a candy store. There are so many options that I want to try. And the opportunity, I would say, for SaaS partners is give your customers optionality. I know that everyone wants to lock you into an annual contract, but the reality is the AI focus is probably going to shift dramatically in the next 3 months, let alone 12 months. So it's very hard, unless you are a core operating system like a Shopify or a Klaviyo, a Gorgeous, to really entice people to say, hey, we have this shiny new tool. You should absolutely check it out, but give me an out clause that allows me to play around with it. And maybe it's not right for my business. Maybe we don't have the team internally that's ready to manage it, so that we can continue to play and explore.
I want to move on to wrapping all of that together. How do you think that brands are going to need to differentiate in the world of AI? This is such a common topic now, and something I think you might have touched on in kind of your keynote was how important it is for a brand to really start to think about how they can stand out from the rest. Do you think that this is, creative? A lot of people are talking about the way to differentiate now is creative. Do you think it's something else? Well, what are your kind of thoughts there?
I think it's brand positioning, brand values. So an example that I love is Liquid Death. Now, the water as purchasable beverage industry is fascinating to me because it is a free commodity that is safe and easy to access in most of the developed world, yet we will pay a premium for bottled water. And if you think about Liquid Death, what are they not doing? They're not talking about pH, minerality. You don't even know the mountain that it's sourced from. That's what all their competitors are doing. Those are features and benefits. What they've done instead is align themselves with subcultural identity. So punk, skater, biker, etc. And they've packaged it in a way that if you're at an event, doesn't matter if it's NASCAR or Burning Man, you can drink this beverage and feel that you are not on the outside of what's considered cool. That's a community that you're buying into when you purchase from that brand. And that's the opportunity in front of so many.
How do you think that brands should go about setting that? I mean, brands, obviously, many brands have been around for a long time and kind of need a bit of a refresh. But I think that so many new brands are getting ahead of the old because they're starting with this mentality. If you're a brand today, and I mean, maybe at the brands you've worked with or where you are today, how are you going about creating, what you truly want to be? Is it workshops? Is it founder driven? Is it the whole company being a part of it? Like how do you actually create it?
The most important thing that any team can do is to be actively listening. And I say actively on purpose. Very often, you'll get feedback from customers or potential customers and find a reason to dismiss it. Either they don't get it, they're not our target audience, they had a one-off experience, but what they're actually telling you is gold. So it's very important to have a constant eye on the feedback mechanisms. This includes social media comments, customer service interactions, what the reviews are on your website or any third-party platform. If you have retail associates, making sure you're capturing their insights. You can put it into a dedicated LLM model or another tool and make sure that every week you're getting updates. And what I like to have as a deliverable from those updates are what are the 5 reasons why people are buying from us and what are the 5 reasons why people aren't. Because these are what you have to overcome in order for people to purchase from you. keeping a close eye on those allows you to ladder up into your brand story and to your brand values.
And you're feeding customer support tickets, feedback
Absolutely.
from online reviews, etc., into this kind of data stream.
Yes, absolutely.
And then it's feeding you back this context.
Absolutely. And then that ladders up into creative that you're running on Meta or other channels, into what's on your homepage or dedicated collection or landing pages, what's in your welcome flow for your email series, etc.
What are you most excited about on the marketing front at the moment that you're actively using today? I think that so many brands still see AI as a hypothetical. Oh, it's coming. It's exciting. Well, it's here.
Yeah.
And it's here right across the business, like you said. But what are you most excited about?
There's a lot of tools that we're playing with, but nothing revolutionary. Big fan of Claude. I think that if you can do the work to train it, give it your brand guidelines, give it your brand voice, give it understanding of your COGS and your margin structure, your competitive set, be honest with it about your goals and the challenges, it can really become a great, in some ways, thought partner to help you strategize some of the go forward movements.
And you actively use that as the thought partner today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it perfect? No. Does it require some babysitting? Of course. But it's a very powerful tool if it's orchestrated correctly.
Something you talk about a lot is that marketing today is really focused a lot on the metrics, the numbers, etc. And I guess that's where some of this story kind of leads to, is that you need to build a community.
Yeah.
Why do you think that the numbers just aren't enough? They're important to look at, but it's not the only thing to look at today.
When someone buys a product, a service, either as an end customer buying a bottle of water or a marketer buying, a partnership with Instant, we're all envisioning a better version of ourselves, a better future by making this purchase. So on the marketing side, I'm going to partner with Instant because it's going to help me do X, Y, and Z. The opportunity is to get above the spreadsheet of it all and into the emotional heart. And something that I researched is when people are presented with data, and I would say features and benefits fall under this category, 2 parts of the brain light up. When people are presented with emotion and storytelling, 7 parts of the brain light up. Who doesn't want to engage with customers with 7 parts of their brain lit up?
It's very interesting. I don't think a lot of brands are thinking that way. What do you think happened, the adverse to that? What do you think happens if a brand is so obsessed with just ROAS, CAC, and doesn't really care? They just want new customers in the door. Like, I can think of many brands today, and their sustainability long term, that's another question. But they're growing fast, right? And you speak to the CEO and it's all just about the numbers. How do you think you get that balance right? Because if you don't focus on these numbers, business dies.
Sure.
But if you over obsess about them, you don't build a community and you've got nothing long term. How do you strike the balance?
It's a great question. At the end of the day, of course, you need to be
We're making money.
profitable. Everyone's doing this to have a business that can be sustainable. I think there's a fundamental shift that is important to think about with the capital markets that leads into this. For a long time, and we're thinking the days of like Birchbox, Warby Parker, there was, if you had some product market fit, almost unlimited venture capital that for the most part didn't really care if you were a profitable business. It was acquire at almost any cost. Now the capital markets have shifted where venture is functioning more like private equity, where especially in the e-com space, they're focused more on EBITDA positive, contribution margin heavy brands, as opposed to those that are just growing with we just saw what happened with Allbirds, right?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Well, they're an AI company now.
They went up, they went down, it's all over the place. But you think about like Grunz, which obviously just had a really nice exit, right? Like they were focused on LTV. I'm sure they're a high margin category type of brand. So if you want to just have great ROAS and CAC numbers, run a sale. Like you will have that sugar spike like nothing else. But if you want to build long-term brand equity, people really coming back to you over and over again, then you need to focus on something that's bigger.
Love it. You talk a lot about understanding the emotional drivers of your customers and your community, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
The emotional drivers of the community?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that it's something that a lot of people like mention, on the fly,
Yeah.
but they're not as purposeful about it
Yeah.
as you are. What types of emotional signals are you looking for?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I was working with a private equity firm, and I came in as the turnaround CEO, actually, for a distressed asset in their portfolio, which catered to plus-size women, and it sold premium swimwear. And the brand had been around for many years and were one of the first players in the space. So by talking about their features of certain types of underwire construction or wider shoulder straps or certain types of mesh, they differentiated themselves. By the time I came in, the market was much more saturated and, pun intended, the brand was totally underwater. So one of the first things that I did was to look at the messaging that we were putting out into the marketplace, and so much of it was the features and the benefits. We went on a listening tour, and what we heard was both really heartwarming and heart-wrenching at the same time, which is women would not go to the beach in the summer with their family until they found our bathing suits because they were either embarrassed or didn't feel comfortable. One woman even went so far as to say that she built a pool in her backyard so she could do summertime activities with her kids and not have to go out to the community pool or to the beach. And you think about when you start to have your messaging talk about, we understand that you've probably had some really bad experiences with other swimwear that didn't do what it was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. We've solved for all these things. We're here to support you both physically but emotionally. That's when things really started to turn around.
And how did you measure that at scale? Like the turnaround? Was it revenue growth, or was
Absolutely.
it just this like flurry of just positive feedback from customers, repeat purchase?
Yeah, both.
Like, did you just kind of feel it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You see engagement on social media, you see customers writing in, you see the, numbers at the end of the day. Yeah.
Is there any brands outside of Liquid IV?
Liquid Death.
Yeah, Liquid
Death. IV is pretty good too, though.
They're pretty good too, right?
Yeah.
That crack this emotional connection well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
like, who do you look up to most?
Yeah, there's always this kind of pantheon of, gods in the marketing world and these brands that have just really had this incredible resonance. And of course, these are heritage brands at this point, but Coca-Cola,
right?
Disney, Apple, of course, right? Like, we pay more for the experiences those brands offer because we want to be part of that community because it says something about us when we pull out an iPhone.
Now.
It's so subconsciously. And my background before I got into e-com was being at Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. You're selling a t-shirt. You've chosen to wear a Polo by Ralph Lauren t-shirt today because it must mean something to you versus any of the competitors at a similar price point. Why is that, right?
It's very interesting. I actually wear the same outfit every day. I got so sick of choosing what to wear every single day. I'm one of those weird people that wear the same thing literally every day. But it's, I don't know, like you just kind of subconsciously start to buy the thing that you resonate with most, or I don't know, whatever, right? Yeah. How do you think about in such a world, connecting with the customer, one thing, but in the world where everything is online, everything is driven by influencers, etc. How do you connect with your community directly? Is it in-person events? Is it like working with the right influencers? Like, how do you think about outside, building a cracking the emotional connection just in the product? I guess you got to get it in front of the right audience in the first place.
So I have two thoughts on this. One, meet your audience where they are. So if they're on Reddit, if they're on another channel, make sure that you're there in a meaningful way and create a safe space for them. Two, we're so obsessed with scalability, and rightly so, but think about the opportunities to engage that still feel very personal. I think event marketing is one of these. The other thing that I encourage teams to do is to actually get on the phone with your customers. And I think it's important for everyone, of course, customer service is probably the most engaged with customers. When was the last time anyone else in the organization had a phone call with a customer? When was the last time the CEO called one of the VIP clients who's been there since the beginning and just thanked them and tried to understand how they found the brand and what it means to them, incentivize them to share the news about it with their friends and family? These conversations don't have to take long. They can be 10, 15 minutes. Do it once a month, but the insights you'll gain, and this is what we did the swimwear brand, will really change the course of the business.
Mm-hmm. I want to touch on going back to your keynote.
Yeah.
You gave an incredible talk there, and it was about this. I guess the core subject was about belief.
Yeah.
Talk to us a bit more about what that means to you.
Yes. So getting back to the college days, I remember a professor said, "What's the only difference between religion and mythology?" Any guesses? Comes down to one core idea, which is belief.
Right.
So if you believe in the stories about Zeus and Hera, as they did thousands of years ago, that becomes your religion. Mm-hmm. If you don't, it becomes a collection of really entertaining literature that we now read in high school. So how can we take this idea of belief and take it to the next level? Because when people believe in something, they will go above and beyond, both in terms of what they're willing to pay, but how they're willing to evangelize the brand and personalize what it means to them. So of course, think about Hermes, right?
Right.
Think about what it means to have a Birkin on your arm. Is there a great quality there? Of course. Fabulous workmanship, great leather. Is there heritage behind it? Of course. But you are sending a signal to everyone else, one, that you can afford it, but two, that you understand this world and you're part of it.
What do you think building belief looks like in reality inside a marketing team today?
It's really understanding your customer. And here's where I see a lot of companies fumble, especially if they are founder-led businesses. For a certain period of time, the brand is incredibly autobiographical. So the decisions that you make are the decisions your customers are going to resonate with. There becomes a tipping point, though, where you may no longer be your core audience. And it's very hard for a lot of founders to let the ego drop and to say, hey, I'm going to really trust the data, and I'm going to really trust my team to make the decisions that fundamentally I might not be my first choice in terms of product assortment or retail strategy or influencer selection. But I know this is what the audience that my brand has evolved to market to really appreciates.
So you have to stay close to the customer.
You have
not
to
just
stay
be
close to the
obsessed
customer.
about the numbers, right?
And how many brands you build, you spend all this time building customer personas and doing all this really beautiful research, and then you let it sit stagnant, and that becomes gospel for the brand in perpetuity. How
do you consistently talk about this internally, the belief of whatever it is, and new starters on the team, people who have been there forever, just consistently reiterating what we're trying to do? How does that actually go into practice internally? Yeah, a lot of this is leveraging the AI to keep track of the customer sentiment and making sure that you're on top of that. Another part of it is making sure that the entire team is in touch with actual customers. And then lastly, it's just making sure that there is an open pathway of communication where someone in the customer service team, for example, feels that they're empowered to say, you know what, I saw that you guys are planning to do X, Y, and Z. Based on everything I'm hearing, I actually don't think that's the right direction. There's a great up-and-coming brand called LSKD. Not sure if you've heard of them, but their slogan is 1% better every day. And it's like an activewear brand, and they've used it as a way to stand out. They really got their head start in Australia, and they're making huge waves here. And they go and partner with all of these athletes and influencers, etc. But their core slogan and their core message is by wearing LSKD, you're getting 1% better every day. And it's just like this feeling, right? Like people just get this subconscious feeling, which I guess is what you're touching on. Do you think that knowing your customer, you can just have a playbook for that internally, or is it just so different for every brand?
I think the strategies can have a playbook around them. I think the outcomes are going to be fundamentally different if you're really actively listening.
All right. Well, let's touch on where you're at today.
Sure.
You're working in the world of art now, right?
Yep.
And how are you enjoying that? Maybe tell us how long you've been there, what you're doing, etc.
So currently I'm the chief marketing officer at Artwear, and I've been an advisor with them for several years, came on in a more official capacity about a year ago. And the company is, I would say, most akin to like MoMA Design Store in that we partner with the estates of blue chip artists, be that Basquiat, Jeff Koons, Warhol, and do really beautiful giftable items. So the thesis is art that isn't a canvas, doesn't hang on your wall. And we have really great like plates, rugs, skateboards, surfboards, furniture, etc. So we kind of vacillate
So it's
between
like item art.
Yes.
Right.
A lot of it's limited edition, but we kind of go between the homeware space and the art world.
I love that. And how is the journey been going from advisor to coming in-house? Was it just a no-brainer, or did it take you a while to get convinced to join a new company?
No, it's great. I really like the vertical. What's nice about it is the overall space is not focused on discounting. So I've been at brands where you just discount. They think they're being premium, but they're discounting all the time, so you turn into a discount brand.
No discounts for you?
Very, very few. Yeah, very, very few, because that's not really what our audience is going to react to. They're more excited about new product drops than they are about just the discount.
How do you manage that mentality internally when maybe you're having a bad sales quarter or things are a little behind? The natural instinct is, all right, let's juice the numbers and we'll just do a sale. How do you be so adamant about not doing that?
It's just,
It's just part of the culture.
It's kind of like being on a diet in a way, right?
Right.
At first, it's a little painful, but then you get the adrenaline rush of knowing that you're doing what's right.
How do you think about growth when you can't rely on the typical growth levers of discounts? You've got limited edition drops. You're not necessarily selling the same thing consistently.
Yeah.
People that buy art can be buying very different types of personas,
Sure.
right? Targeting very different types of people. How do you think about growth today?
You have to think more long term. The challenge of only working in a quarterly or annual view is that over the course of 5 years, where is the business going to go? This company's been around over 20 years, right? And thinking about what's right for your brand, what's right for your partners, and what's right for your end audience is going to build that sustained growth. We're also a bit tied into the fluctuations of the art market. So we have two divisions. One is the direct-to-consumer. The other is a very robust business selling to interior designers and architects, where the portfolio is slightly different. So that has a much higher kind of overall price point attached to it.
How do you plan new drops? That would be, I feel like that would be fun, right? In your role. What's the process of that look like?
Yeah, so a lot of them are either direct partnerships with the estates or working with partners that have those in the pipeline. So, just keeping tabs on it and seeing what's coming up next.
Nice. And what are you kind of excited for this year? I mean, we've spoken about AI, we've spoken about customer sentiment and understanding the customer and making them feel something. If you were to kind of summarize the year ahead, particularly in the world of AI, as I said, what are you excited about most?
I'm really excited to see how things evolve over the next 12 months. I'm also scared. And I think that anyone on the marketing or e-com side that says that they don't have some level of trepidation is fooling themselves. I think everyone's job is in jeopardy. I think everyone's role is evolving so quickly that you have to do everything you can to stay up to date, to stay flexible, and to continue to add value. So if you're in a purely executional role, you need to think about how you can get out of that. And if you're in a purely strategic role, you need to think about how many AI tools you can gain mastery over as quickly as possible.
How do you learn so fast? How do you?
I don't know if I am. I feel overwhelmed and underprepared, to be honest. There's, talking to people like you who are more in depth in the space is very helpful. Going to conferences, reading myriad newsletters and Substacks and podcasts. I just feel like there's, even at Shop Talk, like how many new vendors were there this year versus last year, all with a .ai in their URL, right? It's just important to stay open.
Where are you doubling down on at the moment with AI? You obviously mentioned Claude and data analysis, but when it comes to execution on growing the business, is there anything you're doing now?
Yeah, a lot of it is, of course, content strategy. So either visual creative or written copy as it relates to product descriptions, website, blog, email, etc. It's really kind of infinite where it can go.
I feel like it's going to be so interesting, but I honestly believe that there's always going to be a need for, I like the analogy that you used, but there's always going to be a need for a person somewhere. I think that people that are so AI skilled, it's like everyone used to put on their CV that they knew how to use Microsoft Word, right? Now we're in the world of you need to be solid at using strong AI tools, if not building your own
absolutely
AI tools, and just embrace it in many ways. I think is the most exciting thing. To end on an interesting note, what do you think is the most overhyped thing about AI right now?
That agentic shopping is going to completely replace brand websites. I do not believe that is the case. Will agentic shopping become a channel through which purchases are made? Absolutely. Will that make brand websites obsolete? I do not believe so. However, the function of the brand website should continue to evolve to do more to tell the brand story, the founder story, really get people into the world and the community of the brand, as opposed to being as purely transactional as maybe some have been.
Love it. I strongly believe that websites are like the content on the website has never been more important because AI tools are scraping this information from somewhere. Yeah. So when someone searches on ChatGPT or they're using a tool internally or whatever, a lot of the time they're getting that information from your website. And then the second thing, I agree with you. I really don't see shoppers moving away from shopping. Of course they'll do their research through AI powered tools, but I still think the shopper is going to shop. I don't see a world in the near term where agents are doing all of my shopping for me, like a piece of art, for example. I just don't see that coming true. So I agree with you. But thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I feel like we covered so much in this episode and incredibly excited to see what the next 12 months looks like. We can't even think what is going to happen in 2 or 3 years or 5 years time anymore. It's like we're in 12-month increments. So
absolutely.
Have you on again in 12 months time.
Love it.